was obviously in light of the current events of Ayal, גיל-עד, and נפתלי. Hashem yikol damam, zecher tzadikim v'bracha. And it's an opportunity of all of Kollel Israel to get together in achdut with the koach hatefillah. But as Naftali's mother said, we're not balabatim on Hashem. We don't run Hashem. Whatever Hashem does, Hashem has his reasons why he does. And that gave us a tremendous lesson in emunah. And alas, yesterday, their holy bodies were found. There's a tremendous Avel on the Kollel Yisrael. And as we are speaking now, the Levaya is happening. So it's only appropriate that we dedicate this Shiur, the Iluy Nishmatam, as many things that were done in the past 18 days were obviously Iluy Nishmatam as well, and they have a tremendous ichut in the Olam Ha'emet, and we wish their parents a very strong comfort, that they should be comforted. B'toch shar av l'Tzion Yerushalayim, amen. So with that, we will hear a shiur on Pidyon Shvuyim from Rabbi Messod Azoulay. Thank you very much for coming across the border and visiting us. It's also Canada Day by you guys. So there you go. So it's all so that way we're able to hear Divrei Torah, a wonderful sugya from a future leader of community. Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Azoulay is doing a lot up north, and we're very happy to have him with us today.
Thank you, Rabbi Lohar, for the warm introduction and for the invitation. Thank you very much. As the Rosh Kollel mentioned, it's the news that we didn't want to hear. Unfortunately, we heard yesterday. And Bezrat Hashem, may this Shiur, Iluy Nishmatam, and we soon see Mashiach and Chiyat HaMetim. We can really bring them back home and all of our loved ones.
Amen.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the sugya of Pidyon Shvuyim and how much do we offer? How far can we go when it comes to bringing someone back from captivity? So let's start. So as we see on the first page over here, Batar Davchet, Pidyon Shvuyim is a mitzvah rabbah, a great mitzvah. The Gemara at the time was looking for what's considered a great mitzvah. Pidyon Shvuyim. Shulchan Aruch in Siman Reish Nun Bet Sif Gimel, it's on the last page. Every moment that kol rega shemeacher liftot shvuyim, hecha de'efshar la'aktim, havekilu shofech damim. Every moment that a person, that those that are available, those that are able to bring back the shvuyim, if they wait even for a moment, when they're gonna go, okay, I'll just go take a coffee break before we go and get them out. If you're waiting, then it's as if you're shofech damim, just to show how severe and how important this mitzvah Pidyon Shvuyim is. The Gemara Gitin Daf Mem He tells us though that it's as we just mentioned, so important to take them out of captivity. But the Mishnah tells us, "En podin tashvuyim yoter yeter al keded men." We don't. There's a certain value that each person has, and each person in captivity. But you can't go over that value. Let's say it's $1 million, talking money terms. You can't go over that amount. Says the Mishnah, "Mipnei tikun ha'olam." Because so that things we're going to explain. There's two reasons why the Gemara tells us. There's two reasons why. What's the svara for why you can't go? Why can't I go above and beyond? I'll give $10 million. I'll free 1,000 terrorists, which we'll talk about soon. Why can't I go over the amount? Tells the Gemara two reasons. Reason number one is duchka de tzibura, that if it's going to be too much money, and the money is going to fall on the tzibur, on the kahal, it'll be too much for them to handle. So if you're talking, if it's going to be exorbitant amounts, $10 million, $100 million, how's a community that one of their guys got captured? How are they going to take it? So there has to be a set amount set by that community, by that and they can't go over that amount because it's going to cause a deep financial loss in the community. That is the first reason why. The second reason, ibai tema, meaning we're going to see, is it both these reasons at the end are paskin la halacha, or is it one of these two reasons? We'll show that in a moment. But the second reason is that if I'm going to keep on going above what's normal, then it's going to entice those captors, those guys that capture the captive, it's going to entice them to do it again. I just got, the usual amount would have been $1 million. Now they just give me $5 million. Wow, I'm going to do this again, and they'll give me $10 million. And I'm going to do this again. They're going to give me $100 million. It's going to keep on going. So we want to set a limit. We're going to stop it at $1 million, and we can't go over that because it's going to keep on, this rat race is going to keep on happening. So those are the two reasons given in the Gemara. There's a nafkamina. Rashi brings down. Nafkamina is, let's say, the person that got in captivity is a wealthy guy. His family is a wealthy family. His father's a wealthy guy. And father says, don't worry, I'll pay. $100 million? I don't care. I want my son back home. So, therefore, it's not falling on the tzibur's head. It's not falling on the tzibur. So maybe then we could still let him free because the family's going to pay. We'll say no, because of the second reason, that the captors are still going to capture again so that they can get more and more and more money. So it doesn't matter if the family's rich. Because of the second reason, you can't let him go over that limit. So that's the nafkamina between two reasons. Now, so are these two reasons, which one of these two is the one that we're posek la halacha? Which one of these two reasons? The Rosh, from the Gemara, it's not apparent. It just tells us these two reasons. It's not apparent which one the Gemara paskins like. The Gemara, the Rosh and other Rishonim, they say it's ibai deloy pshita. It's a question that the Gemara doesn't. They leave it hanging. So it could be both. It could be sometimes you use this one, sometimes you use that one. But the general psak, the Rambam, the Rif, the Tur, the Shulchan Aruch and Seif Dalid, is we paskin the second reason. The lo ligribu v'laitu, that we don't want them to keep on. They're going to give more, then they're going to keep on going and keep on going. That's the reason. That's why that's the psak of why we don't go over the amount. Okay. There's a story though, a maaseh that happened, Gitin Nun Chet, it's the third page over here, that throws this a little bit out of balance. What happens is, there's a story, Maaseh Rabbi Yehoshua ben Hananiah. Rabbi Yehoshua, he went to a big place, a big city in Rome, and they told him that there's a child that's in captivity. And he's a good-looking child, etc. And he went to the outside of the jail, and basically he spoke to him in Pesukim, and he realized that this child could be a potential Talmid Chacham. So he said, I'm not moving from here until I give them any amount that they ask for, I'm going to give them to get this child out. And that's what happened. He didn't leave from there until he was podem with a lot of money, more than what's usual. Gave him a lot of money to get this kid out. And actually he was right. It wasn't a long time until this little child became a Moreh Rabbi Yisrael. Who was it? Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. That's who this little child became, this Talmid Chacham, Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. So Rabbi Yehoshua was right. He saw that this kid was going to be a Talmid Chacham. He said, I don't care, I'm going all the way, and I'm giving him more than the amount. So the question here is, how was Rabbi Yehoshua allowed to do this? There was this the Mishnah we just said, that, so the first thing is first, that it's a great mitzvah to be podeh Shvuyim. Super big mitzvah. But we have a rule. We can't go over the amount. So how does Rabbi Yehoshua go over the amount? That is Tosfot's question over here. Tosfot asked this question on Daf Nun Chet, and Tosfot asked the question on Daf Mem Hey. Is it Mem Hey? Yeah. So there's 3 answers total that Tosfot gives for why Rabbi Yehoshua did this. Answer number 1 is because he saw that the child's going to become a Talmid Chacham. Talmid Chacham is different. That we said that you can't go over a certain amount. That's my regular person. Talmid Chacham is different. Explains the Ramban. Why is a Talmid Chacham different? says because even if you're going to say it's ducha de tzibura, or even if you're going to say it's they're going to keep on going and keep on wanting to get more and more money, Talmid Chacham is different. The Raman says this lashon that we have a lot of regular Jews. Talmid Chachamim, they're the continuation of Jewry. I heard this once by a Brit Milah, Rabbi Atiyas Shlita. He said, I gave a bracha to the baby. He said, Bezrat Hashem, you become a Talmid Chacham. He says, we have a lot of Amei Aratzot already. Be a Talmid Chacham. We want more and more of those, yeah? So, as we say, that they're very, very precious. So therefore, they're above and beyond. And Rabbi Yeshua took it a step further, which is inside this, in this Geder, that even if you see a child that's on his way to become a Talmid Chacham, that's considered as well, and you could go above and beyond. And the truth is, the Meiri explains why is Talmid Chacham so special, because he says that he says when you podeh him, he says even though it was probably a small sin that got this Talmid Chacham in jail in the first place, but now that you're podeh him, even though it's with tons of money or it's above and beyond, the Torah will be megin, his Torah will protect that this type of thing won't happen again, or this type of thing. So therefore, it's much more of a these sibot won't happen again because you're getting out of Talmid Chacham. That is the first explanation why Rabbi Yeshua went over above and beyond. Second explanation is as follows. It says Tosfot, B'shat HaChurban, what happened was that this Maaseh happened at the time of the Churban HaBayit. So at the time of the Churban HaBayit, everybody was the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. You can imagine the Jewish situation at the time, and they were taken over. They were basically like all in captivity. We were all able to be captured like nothing. The Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and so there's no more svara of the lo libru v'velaitu. They're not that the guy's going to capture. You're going to pay him a lot of money. Then you're going to go again and capture and again and capture. We were not in a situation of anything. So therefore, okay, they captured this guy. He paid tons of money. We should pay tons of money for this kid. Okay, but tomorrow we're not going to say that they're going to go again and capture more because everybody was basically captured v'omer. They were already there, ready to. They were already. The Beit HaMikdash wasn't destroyed, and the situation was dire. So the svara wasn't applicable, and that's the svara we paskin, right? So therefore, because the svara wasn't applicable, you could go over and above the amount. That's the second explanation of Tosfot. The third explanation of Tosfot is because there was sakanat nefashot for this child. There was sakanat nefashot for the child. He saw that he would have been killed, or he would have sakanat nefashot for the child. Sakanat nefashot, you podeh even more than the set amount. The set amount is $1 million. But, you see there's a case of sakanat nefashot over here, we go above and beyond. That is Tosfot's third tirutz. Okay. So that is the sugya in short. Now let's ask a question, and let's try to explain and get a little deeper into things. So, as we said, Yoter Mekedei Damav is not necessarily money. Maybe it could be terrorists. We had a situation, fortunately, this situation ended up not the way we would have liked it. We had a situation not long ago with Gil-עד Shalit. He was captured. And at the end, the price the Jews paid was 1,000 terrorists to be released for this one Jewish guy. Truth is also, Yabi Omer Ravadi Zatzal has a tshuva with the story in Entebbe when they captured the airplane. Air France was flying from Paris to Israel. It was hijacked and it was taken to Uganda, and they took off all the non-Jews, and all the Jews that were there was 140 Jews on the airplane, and they wanted the 40 terrorists in Israel to be freed for those 140. At the end, we know what happened. Baruch Hashem, Israel went in there, got rid of all those guys, and brought everybody safely home. And I think the terrorists were still in jail. So that worked out well. But are you allowed to give 1,000 terrorists for one Jew? Isn't that over the amount? So there's two parts.
They're not worth so much.
They're not worth so much. Yeah. So there's two parts to the question over here. Part number one is you're going above and beyond the amount that's required. How could you go above and beyond the amount? That's question number one. Question number two is that with terrorists we're dealing with something else over here. That if we're going to free them, likely they're going to come back and fight back and going to go back to their terror ways and shoot missiles, etc., and kill more Jews. So you're freeing one, you're bringing 1,000, that could cause 1,000 deaths. So that's part 2, which we will address later on. So let's take part 1 right now. How are we allowed to go above and beyond the normal amount? We see in the Mishnah, right? We saw Rabbi Yeshua, and we saw 3 tirutzim and Tosfot. Let's see how we could, for Lemaaseh, kind of, that how could we explain this? So the first answer would be this Tosfot's third answer that we explained. The Sakanat Nefashot. When you see Gil-עד Shalit, they would have killed him. Sakanat Nefashot. So Sakanat Nefashot, according to Tosfot, you could go above and beyond the amount. 1,000 terrorists, 1,000,000 terrorists. Sakanat Nefashot. We'll give it up. Again, we're talking about the first part of the question. The second part of the question is freeing terrorists. How's that going to work out? We're going to leave that for later. Because they're going to come back and fight. We're leaving that for later. Right now we're just talking about how can you go above and beyond the amount. Oh, very good. So that's the bomb question which we're going to ask in a moment. Very good. So I see I was following, so that's good. So basically as follows. So the first tirutz we could start with is Tosfot. Tosfot saying that Sakanat Nefashot, you go above and beyond. So meaning that takes precedence. But there's a big question over here. A lot of the Mefarshim ask, Berosham the Ramban. Chidushay Ramban Gitin Memhei asked this question. That Gemara that we said that it's a mitzvah rabbah, the Gemara on Davchet, on Bava Batra, that it's a mitzvah rabbah to be podeh anybody in captivity. Why is it such a mitzvah rabbah? It says over there that a person in captivity, the kulu itnube, it has all of the facets of the worst scenarios. It could happen to someone that's captured. They could use him. They could kill him. Whatever they want to do to this guy, they have the ability to do. Included in that is killing. They could kill him. Right? That's what Rashi says straight out. They could starve him. They could do whatever they want to them. So the definition of somebody captured is that there's Sakanat Nefashot. That's the definition of it. So the definition of someone captured is Sakanat Nefashot. And then we have a Mishnah, and Pidyon Shvuyim. You don't go above and beyond. So that means, right, so therefore the Ramban says Tosfot's answer is it's against the Mishnah. He knocks out Tosfot and he says there's nothing to talk about. Because the definition of a Shevi, of someone that's captured, is that there's Sakanat Nefashot over here. That's the definition. So, and we also have another Mishnah that says, En Pidyon Shvuyim. You can't go above $1 million. So that's talking about a guy in Sakanat Nefashot. So Tosfot's answer says the Ramban is not good. And that's it. You don't go over the amount. Because that's what the Mishnah is talking about. That's what we're talking about over here. So that is a huge question on how can we go over the amount. Because a Shevi, a person in captivity, the definition is Sakanat Nefashot. So if the definition is Sakanat Nefashot, then how can you go above the $1 million? How can you go above 1 terrorist or 5 terrorists, whatever the amount is? 1,000 terrorists, that's way above the amount. So how can you do this? That is the bomb question over here from the Ramban. The truth is, in addition to this question, there's a Pitchet Tshuva over here. On Dalet, Sivkan Dalet and Hey. Look, I forgot to underline it, but that's, if you would have time, if you don't have time later, to look at it on the last page. He brings a sefer, the Yad Eliyahu, that asks, he's mosif to the question as follows. He says that this answer of Tosfot, of Sakanat Nefashot, is doche, is only on the tzad of duchka de tzibura. Meaning, only if you hold that the reason why we don't go above and beyond is because it's gonna be a very, very hard for the kahal. That's only over there. When there's dukkha de tzibura, that's when we say that what's it called? That's when Tosfot says his answer that Sakanat Nefashot we go above dukkha de tzibura. But when we're talking about the loligrivu, meaning I'm going to steal the guy, and then I'm going to free him for 5 million. Next time I'm going to free him for 10 million. He's going to keep on rolling. That adirabba. If it's a case of Sakanat Nefashot, then these captors are going to always try to do matzavim of Sakanat Nefashot to get more and more and more and more money. So Sakanat Nefashot puts fuel to the fire of this reason of the loligrivu. Meaning, the loligrivu is that they're going to capture, and our standard's $1 million. I don't care. Standard's $1 million. Give me $5 million. At the end, they're going to say, okay, we're going to give you $5 million if you keep on giving more. So then it's going to entice them to do more. Now, if sakanat nefashot, we're going to bail them out at any cost, that's going to entice them even more to do davka sakanat nefashot. So therefore, Tosfot's reasoning must be talking about dukkha d'tzibura, not on the ligravu. And therefore, our psak is, like as we know, the Rambam, etc., is the ligravu. Therefore, Tosfot is not applicable to the ligravu, and therefore that strengthens the Ramban's kasha. And the truth is, as we mentioned, Tosfot asks this question on Rav Yehoshua in two places. We said Memhe and Nunchet. So on Nunchet, that's where he answered that Sakanat Nefashot. That's when you go above and beyond. So therefore, the Tosfot was talking about the case of Rav Yehoshua. And the case of Rabbi Yeshua was in a situation where it was the Bet HaMikdash, there was no svarav de lo ligruvu, as Tosfot says himself. So that's more of a proof that Tosfot's talking about a case, we're not talking about the svarav de lo ligruvu, we're talking about the svarav dukkha de tzibura. Dukkha de tzibura, that's when, it's a dochek on the tzibur, that's when I say that I could go above and beyond. When the lo ligruvu, it's going to bring fuel to the fire, that's going to be more of a svara to say that they're going to keep on going and going and going. That for sure we don't say sakanat nefashot. That's why Tosfos answers that answer by the case of Rabbi Yehoshua. So therefore, us lemaase, that paskan de lo ligruvu, we do not have the svara of sakanat nefashot. So that gives more strength to this question of the Ramban. How could we podeh people? How could Tosfot say sakanat nefashot? We're podeh even till $1 zillion when we have clearly a Chevy equals somebody that's sakanat nefashot. And we have this Mishnah that says, "En podin yoter hakadeh demehen." That is the strength and depth to the kasha of the Ramban. So there's a few answers, and we'll get through them, Mizrat Hashem. The first answer is the Meiri. The Meiri in Gitin Memhei brings the kasha of the Ramban. And he says as follows, Mikol makom, shevi sheikro lemamon, en bo chashash mita. But if there would be a chashash mita, you would be podeh at any amount. He says that even though the Gemara is talking about that a person in captivity, they can do whatever they want to them. They can do whatever they want, even though that's what the Gemara is talking about. But really, all they want is money. That's all they want. So therefore, if you see a situation, all they want is money, and that, the Mishnah said, En podino te'akadeh demand, you don't go over the amount of the money. But now, if you see a new type of captivity case, a new captor that he wants to just kill the guy, sakanat nefashot only, meaning the whole thing is just sakanat nefashot, not interested in the money, over there you pay as much as you want. That, he says, the Mishnah and the Gemara is not talking about. That's the Meiri. And he brings a proof, he doesn't bring this proof, I saw this proof, is that the two reasons of the Gemara, why don't we go above and beyond the amount? We gave two reasons. It's going to be too much for the tzibur. And second reason is that it's going to keep on fueling them to keep on asking for more and more and more. So those two reasons are money reasons. You see that those captors, their whole thing is money. They don't want anything else but the money. So now if you see a case that all they want to do is kill, that's not what the Gemara is talking about. Therefore you could give as much money as you want, because you see here that it's talking about killing. That's the Meiri. There's the tshuva of the Radvaz that the Pitchet Tshuva over here brings down in short. And he says as follows. He says that the Gemara is talking about the case that it's talking about, say it's Mita or whatever, but there's a different element that the Gemara is not talking about, and if you see that in a case of captivity, then you can pay as much as you want. And that's which could be, usually that happens, maybe now, is that if you see that they are ma'avirim otam al dat, that they make them mechalel Shabbat, they make them lose their whole religion while they're in captivity. So for that reason, which is more than the reason of that the Gemara brings, says as follows, the words, Mikol makom yesh lomar, dilma lo ayri tana b'shvuyim ka'ele, that it's talking about that they're ma'avirim al dat. That the Gemara is not talking about. Gemara is not only talking about a regular case of mita or of whatever it's talking about. But when it's talking about, we're talking about a case where they're going to lose their religion by being in captivity. These captors are going to make them do averot and mechalot Shabbat, etc. For that, you pay whatever you want. That the Mishnah that said in podin yoter hakadeh demand is not talking about. You make them do, you pay whatever they want. So he says, kevan she'adavar safek, meaning we're not sure exactly what these captors are doing. Henach lahem leYisrael sheme'atzmam midnadvim לפתותם, וששים ושמחים במצוות פדיון שבויים, ויפה נהגו להחזיק מידת אברהם אבינו, איש החסד. Says that, therefore, because it's a fake, you don't know if they're going to be ma'avirim otam al dat, they're going to be getting rid of their religion, etc. So you don't know that, therefore everyone's in that safek, and the Gemara therefore might not have been talking about that case. Therefore you could pay as much as you want to do this. And he says, and that's the truth is, they said that was the minhag Bnei Israel. That's the minhag until this day. That's what Bnei Israel do.
Who writes
This is the Radvaz in Siman Mem. Shoot Radvaz.
He says the minig is always to pay whatever you can.
Yeah, he says Hanachlam L'Yisrael.
Rav Avadia brings us down by Antevi.
Yeah.
And this is what he bases himself on.
This is one of the. He brings the Meiri, he brings this, and I think there's another svara. There's a few more svarot. So, and he says also that because they're doing it me'atzmam, they're doing it on their own. So it's not like we're forcing them or whatever. So they want to do this. Bnei Israel wants to do this. So there's no dukkha for sure. Okay, there could be the lo ligravu, but they are in the reality. Meaning, who's going to get? When we say the svara of, if I'm going to pay $2 million or $5 million, then they're going to ask the next time for 10 million or 15 million. Who's suffering that? Bnei Israel suffering that loss. But if Bnei Israel wants to do it, they're doing me'atzmam. They want to do it on their own. So that can be real. Let them do whatever they want if they want to be podeh this guy. That. It seems like that's another reason to go above and beyond. Maybe Omer brings a nice svara. I saw this somewhere else as well, but I think Chacham Ovadia brings this svara. He says as follows. He says, unfortunately, with these Arabs, Yismach Shemam, there's no svara of lo ligravu. Meaning, if I capture a guy and I give him 1,000 terrorists, it's not going to entice them to go more and to now capture more, whatever. Why? Unfortunately, they're always at the top level of getting more people and abducting people. It's not like I'm going to abduct this kid and then it's going to like a snowball effect. That's what we're talking about the whole time. He says, no, the snowball is already the biggest snowball that could be, and that's what they're always at. They're always at the 100% of trying to abduct people, try to kill people, etc. So therefore, there's no lo ligravu. Therefore, there's no thing of it's going to keep on rolling. So therefore, if there's no lo ligravu, then you can pay as much as you want.
Similar to Shat Kurban.
Of what? Shat Kurban. Yeah, there's no ligravu at that time. Yeah.
Concept.
No, but that is because everybody's omed and ready to be captured because there's no Bet HaMikdash and things.
It doesn't affect it.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the reason. Yeah, right. So, yeah, it's Oto Rayon, but it's a different svarot, different situation.
From a different angle, but it's the same.
Yeah, right. From a different angle. That the Lulav was not applicable, but over here it is saying a very, very deep, interesting svara that they're already at the top level of abducting and killing, etc. So it's not going to entice them anymore. Now I got a guy, I got 1,000 terrorists, I got 2,000. They're already at the top level of inciting. Therefore, pay as much as you want because they're at that level. Unbelievable svara. And there's another svara of Chilul Hashem, meaning if, let's say, the world sees that there's a Chilul Hashem involved, what, the Jews didn't podeh this guy, they're just asking for 50 terrorists, and then usually they should, okay, I know the value is only one terrorist, 1-to-1, but if the world sees it as a Chilul Hashem, that the Jews aren't taking care of their brothers, that could be enough of a reason to go above and beyond. Rav Chaim Kanievsky Shlita in Derech Emunah says that's the minhag, so the Marshal says that's the minhag bizmanenu, the minhag is to go above and beyond. That's the minhag, and we should continue doing that. But now we face the second question. When we release terrorists, then it's going to cause so much more. It could cause so much more, negative, so much more killings, etc. I take out גיל-עד, one person, גיל-עד Shalit, bring 1,000 terrorists. Who knows what these people could do? So how are we allowed to go for terrorists? With money. It's just money. Give them tons of money. But over here, how could we let these guys go? And as we know, there's a halacha as follows. If, let's say, a person comes to Reuven and Shimon, and he tells Reuven, I'm going to kill you. But if you kill Shimon, I won't kill you. So one of the two of you are going to die. I'm giving you the option. So Reuven's not allowed to kill Shimon. Reuven has to take the hit himself. Because my chazit, why am I better than him? My blood's not redder than your blood. So therefore he has to take the hit himself. So therefore that strengthens the question over here. How could I give away 1,000 terrorists that are going to come maybe now and are going to come and could hit back when I'm just releasing one Jew? It's 1 for 1 or it's more than one. Yeah. So how does that work out? So says Rav Ovadia, there's a few answers over here. We'll go one by one. And one will build on the next. First answer is that, the first part of the answer is that when you're doing a maaseh of freeing them, you're not doing a maaseh of killing. Meaning, as follows. The case that we just said, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven, I'm going to kill you, or kill Shimon and you'll go free. So over there, the option is get yourself killed or actually kill somebody. So there, you can't kill somebody to save yourself, so you got to take the hit. Over here, we're not doing an action of killing. We're just doing an action of freeing. We're just opening the door, and these guys are walking out. And then we're going to get this Jewish guy back. So we didn't do an action of killing. We didn't put a gun,
It's going to lead to killing.
Right, it's going to lead. But there's a step before that it's not there yet. We're going to build on this more. But stage one is, so it's not the same as the Reuven and Shimon, right? That's number one. There is a svara, some say, it's probably a very weak svara. They say maybe they were choser b'tshuva in jail. Meaning, maybe they said, very weak svara, maybe they said, I'm here sitting 20 years without my family, without my this, I'm not going to go back to terror. And sure that it's known that people over age of 40, these Arabs or whatever, they're less involved with terrorism, whatever, than 25-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, these type of guys. Because they're young, they think they can live forever, they think they're this. That's also part of the reason why Israeli soldiers are 18. Okay, they're young and this, but they're also young and kind of stupid that put them on the front lines, give them guns and let them, you know what I mean? But the 40-year-olds, they say, like some of these guys that need permits to come into Israel for whatever, for working, for whatever reasons, if they're over a certain age, over 40 or so, they usually have an easier time because they know they've been around for 40 years, they didn't get killed or are not in jail yet, so they're probably okay, right? So maybe these guys, if they're sitting in jail, there's a small svara to say, maybe after sitting in jail for a while, they're not going to necessarily go back to terror so fast. Okay, a small thing. I think one of the main answers is in safek motzi midei vadai. We have over here a safek and we have a vadai. We have a vadai that if we leave גיל-עד shalit in jail, if we leave somebody that's captured in their jails, in their hands, vadai the guy will get killed. Meaning if we don't act and we don't do anything, vadai this guy's going to get killed. But there's a safek, that means if I take these terrorists out of jail, it's only a safek that they're going to cause damage later on. Maybe they'll want to cause damage, but they might not get anything done. Maybe the chayalim, the Kadosh Baruch Hu's protection, are going to make everything okay. Maybe they won't come to fruition to kill anybody. Safek. It's not 100%. So, en safek motzi midei vadai. Here we have a kid who's in jail, in an Arab jail, Hamas, etc. Vadai, he'll get killed if we don't do anything about it. Vadai. As unfortunately we saw yesterday. These guys safek. So en safek motzi midei vadai. You have to go with the vadai. Even give up 1,000 terrorists. That's the reasoning. Also, the vadai is miyadit, and the safek there's proofs for each of these, but we're not going to get into each ones, but these are the svarot. The vadai is miyadit, and the safek is later on, is rachok. Meaning, the vadai, that this guy's going to get killed, is any day. We have to move fast and keep them on the discussion table, show them that we're interested in doing something, or else they're going to kill this guy right away. The safek is only rachok, after you take them out of jail, and then you by the time they get back into things and they want to decide to go back to terror, and then they find the connections to go back to terror, it's going to be a long time until maybe something will happen. So you have a vadai that's karov, and a safek that's rachok that adds another svara to the reason how you could go for this terrorist thing. The last reason I heard mipi shmua, I didn't see it inside, is a svara from Rav Ovadia. He says as follows. Another interesting svara. He says nowadays with technology and GPS, etc., once you free these 1,000 guys, they know exactly where they live, they know where they hang out, they know everything. At times when you got to pinpoint, they get these pinpoint things, kill a guy with a cell phone, they bomb his house directly, they know exactly where these guys are. So you're not really giving away 1,000 terrorists. They're basically 1,000 people now that are allowed to walk the streets, but they're also still in jail because we know where they are. So for 1,000 guys that are still in jail because they know where they are, 1,000,000 of those guys for one of our Jews, that's still okay. That's a svara.
Didn't help with these guys.
Huh?
Didn't help with these guys.
Didn't help with these guys.
They knew exactly where they were, and they still
It didn't help with these guys. Yeah. These are the svarot that.
They knew afterwards.
These are the svarot.
Was that the reason why he allowed for גיל-עד shalit to be free?
It seems like
swap?
it. So I mean, I don't think there's a tshuva.
So our name גיל-עד shalit would have never been free. That was the whole thing. They needed a majority in the Knesset to approve it. And
And
if
then-
the Chacham wanted to suck for the 1,000 for the swap,
And
it would never
I know-
happen.
we definitely know that Rabbi was very happy with this.
Yeah.
Very happy. I don't think there's a tshuva that he wrote about this situation, but the tshuva is by Antebi. And this and by the situation of Antebi, you see also what's amazing is that Rabbi wrote that tshuva as things were happening.
Yeah.
And like he's like, right away when you heard the story, he was writing the tshuva, because you see that he says, and there was only this much time left, and at the end he writes, and Baruch Hashem, they came to tell me that the Jews went in and they saved him. Like as he writes at the end, like it's happening like right now. It's amazing that right away, it's not like, oh, this story happened, let's write, what would theoretically be the thing? No, right there, was in every situation writing.
Oh, but there was
So-
another shayla, right?
Huh?
Are you allowed to put yourself in sakana to save the other people?
What you're saying for the soldiers to go in or whatever. Okay, that's a different thing.
The story goes that in the middle of the night, Rav Zolti, I think it was Rabin who was in charge of Entebbe, came
Yeah,
with.
he came. He says in the tshuva that Rabin came to him. told him.
So what happened? What happened was that they went to Rabbi Yashiv, to Rav Zolti, was the chief rabbi. Rav Zolti said what to go to Rabbi Yashiv. In the middle of the night, they went to ask Rabbi Yashiv. Rabbi Yashiv said there was a stira in Tosfot in Masechet Gitin.
These Tosfot?
Yeah,
Why is stira?
that's
Because
why I'm
one doesn't
wondering.
bring the answer. Maybe because one doesn't bring
Because
the
one
answer.
doesn't bring the answer, he says, and we paskin you're allowed to do it, which means that you would be allowed to do Pidyon Shvuyim even yoter al kedei demand.
With the second nefesh of Tosfot.
Because second nefashat Tosfot. So I guess that's what he meant according to this Tosfot.
I guess so.
Yoter midemand. But according to Pischei Tshuva, what comes out? According to Pischei Tshuva.
So yeah, so he's in favor.
In favor.
He's in favor also.
I was going to say, also when they came back to 1,000 terrorists, you remember like probably 90% of them were like the followers, the ones who did the terrorist act. They weren't the brains
They weren't the
behind
brains
the
behind it.
operation.
Right.
The problem is giving back the organizers, the ones who are
The ones that
right?
make it happen. Yeah. Well, definitely with this that we just mentioned, Ovadia Paskas in the case of Antebi, that it would have been allowed to release those terrorists for those people with all these svarot. So that concludes this point of the issue. Now let's ask a question regarding a regular jail situation. A guy goes to jail for whatever it is there mitzvah over there, Pidyon Shvuyim or not? So, as follows, I heard Hashem Rav Asher Weiss, Shlita, he says as follows, that if it's a jail that they're going to treat you like, these third world country jails, that you could get killed or you could whatever, then those type of jails, yes, it's Pidyon Shvuyim, to get a person out of there. And for sure, if they know that you're Jewish and they're going to cause more things to you because you're Jewish, that's Pidyon Shvuyim. It's a mitzvah Pidyon Shvuyim. But if it's a regular white-collar crime or a jail like in Canada, America, that you're not, when you're in jail, you're not going to die in there or whatever. You can die of old age, but you're not going to get, it's not death, you're there in captivity, you have a TV, you have food, you have whatever, right? You're just in jail. So over there's no mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuyim. This could be a mitzvah of chesed, but at the end, you have to look at every situation. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a mitzvah of chesed. A guy that killed, he's in jail, to get him out of there, to try whatever you can. You know what I mean? If a guy is in jail because something whatever, so there's a mitzvah of chesed that you can get him out early. But the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuyim in a regular jail, it's not the mitzvah of Pidyon Shvuyim. Yeah, but a jail that they're gonna kill him there. If so, then no. But it seems like a regular jail. Even the killers, they there for 25 years. They don't get. Okay, some guys get beat up in jail, killed in jail. But yeah, so you have to look at the situation. With this, I was thinking, what would be in a case with gomel? Meaning, we have to say gomel. A person that comes out of jail has to say gomel. Right. So does that apply to a jail where he was mamash v'sakanat nefashot, or even any jail? And also, let's say a killer. He was in jail 25 years. Comes out of jail, he says gomel. Does he say gomel? He did something wrong. He did something. He killed a guy. So get out of here. We don't want you. We don't want you standing in our shul. We don't want you with berach. We don't want nothing. Is that allowed? Not just things that came to mind. We'll end off with the maaseh with the Maharam Rothenburg. This will be a famous maaseh. The Maharam Rothenburg is follows. Maharam Rothenburg was the Rebbe of the Rosh, one of the Rishonim, and the story goes. Stories brought down, the Shem Agdolim, brought down the Seder Adorot, Maharshal, talk about it in a moment. The story goes that he was living in Europe, I think he was in Germany, and the Goyim at the time, they captured him. And they wanted a huge ransom. And at the time, the Maharam Rothenburg was posek You're not allowed to pay the ransom because they want an exorbitant amount of money. You're not allowed to pay that amount. Even after I die, you're not allowed to get my body out to pay for it. That was the psak. Now, and they wanted to. They wanted to get him out. They wanted to free him. This is our rabbi, the rabbi of the city, the rabbi of everything. So the Marshal asks the question here in Gitin Memhei, why didn't he let them free him? First of all, he knows he's a Talmid Chacham, even though he's an Anav and everything. But he knows he's a Talmid Chacham, and we know Talmid Chacham is above and beyond. So also, this is unbelievable, the Marshal adds in there, look at the Bitul Torah, his own Bitul Torah. That I'm sure he was Mevatel Torah there, that he didn't have Svarim, he didn't have anything there. And he was there, it seems like, for a few years. So for his own Bitul Torah, let them pay to get him out. Marshal says that it must be that the Svara of the Maharam Rottenberg was as follows. That he said, if they're going to pay an exorbitant amount for a Talmid Chacham, then the Goyim are going to know the value of the Talmid Chacham. What's going to happen is, they're going to pay $5 million. Then they're going to go get another Talmid Chacham again. They're going to pay $10 million. They're going to get another Talmid Chacham. It's going to keep on going until the Talmid Chacham will be in jail and there won't be any money left to be poded. And then all of Torah will get forgotten because all the teachers, all the Rabbani will be in jail. That was the Maharam Mirottenberg Svara, and therefore he said, I'm staying in jail, and you're not going to pay any money, because the Goyim at the end of the day, they want the money. So don't pay any money, so that this whole Gezerah will be batel. The Goyim are going to see that no one's paying money for him, so we might as well not capture these rabbis, and Torah will continue therefore. So that was the Maharam Mirottenberg Svara. That's what the Marshal says. Story goes that unfortunately he passed away in jail. And says that he wasn't buried, he wasn't freed from there, from Iyar till Adar. Passed away in Iyar. It's about 9 months. It was at the end of Iyar till the beginning of Adar. 9 months he was there, and he passed away in jail. Until what happened? Until there was a maaseh, there was a person, his name was Alexander Bar Shlomo, a rich guy, and he was paid the big money to get the body of the Maharam Rottenberg out and to bury him. That night, this person, Alexander, had a dream. The Maharam Rottenberg came to him in a dream, thanked him. How, in Kabbalistic works, if a person's not buried, the neshama doesn't enter, Gan-Ed, doesn't work. You got to be buried first in order for the process to start happening. He says, you freed me, you let things work out. The Maharam Rottenberg gave him 2 options. He says, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you, and the way I want to thank you is in 2 ways. One of 2 ways. Either, from now, for all the generations, you, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, everybody is going to live long lives, arichut yamim, and wealthy. That's option number 1. Or, you die right now, in your sleep, and you come with me to Olam Haba. And this person, Alexander, took option number 2. So you can imagine what happened in the city. That the day before, big celebration, he frees Maharam Rottenberg, they bury him, big celebration after years, and after 9 months that he's dead. The guy goes to sleep, next night the guy doesn't wake up. So everybody's thinking, like, what's going on? Seder Hadarot says that this person Alexander came to the other rabbi of the city, in a dream to tell him the dream that he had with the Maharam Rottenberg. That's how we know what happened, right? I heard from Rav Shlomo Brevda, Zecher Tzaddik V'Bracha. He gave us a Shiur before Rosh Hashanah a few years ago. Huh? The Maharam Rottenberg? It's in Paris. And Alexander is buried behind. Not Paris, it's in France somewhere, no?
In Germany.
In Worms? Wow, Rashi's buried there also?
Yeah, Rashi's buried in.
But they don't have his kever. But they have the Maharam Rottenberg's kever. And right beside it is this guy, Alexander Bar Shlomo.
I don't remember his name, but
yeah. Mamash there, Adayom Hazeh. Wow, I would love to go there. Chazak Baruch for that. So Rav Shlomo Brevda Zecher Tzaddik V'Bracha said, this is right before Rosh Hashanah. So he said, you see from this story, he told us this whole story. If anybody knows how he speaks for hours and hours, and we were there for like 4 hours, and at the end, he told us the story. It must have taken him. I told the story in 5-7 minutes. It took him maybe half an hour to say the story, and it was such description. And he said, you see from over your point, sometimes a person can do a maaseh in their life, one maaseh, but it's a big, huge maaseh, and it could get them to a high place in Olam Haba. It says that he was beside him in Olam Haba. You can imagine all the Rishonim, the Rambam, the Rif, the Rosh, Maram Rothenberg, a little basement apartment. Maram Rothenberg is this guy who should have been much lower, right? So you see over here sometimes one maaseh that we do, one big maaseh, and the truth is every maaseh that we do. We don't scharan, shematan scharan shel mitzvot. So every maaseh, and that's what we should try living. Every maaseh that we do should have the right kavanot, and especially if we're able to be zochet to do a big maaseh, we should try taking advantage of it. B'ezrat Hashem, through our maasim tovim, through the mitzvot, through the Torah that we learn, we should soon see these three boys back and see all of our loved ones, Tchiyat HaMetim, and the Biyad Kollel Tzedek, Amen.